Hey, economic warriors. It's your boy, the boss of economics, back with another piping hot, no-holds-barred takedown of the government's latest economic facepalm. Buckle up, because today we're diving headfirst into the copper tariff clown show. Yes, you heard that right, a 50% copper tariff courtesy of none other than Donald Trump. And let me tell you, folks, this isn't just a policy, it's a masterclass in economic self-sabotage. So, grab your coffee, your calculators, and maybe a stress ball, because we're about to expose how this tariff tantrum is going to tank industries, jack up prices, and leave the average Joe, and Jane, holding the bag. Let's get into it. On Tuesday, July 8, 2025, former and apparently future President Donald Trump dropped a bombshell, a 50% tariff on all copper imports, including refined copper, set to kick in on August 1, 2025. Now, if you're thinking, wait, copper. That sounds niche, think again. Copper is the lifeblood of modern economies. It's in your car, your phone, your house, your power grid, heck, it's probably in your grandma's antique lamp. And Trump's big idea? Slap a massive tax on it, all in the name of bolstering American production. Sounds noble, right? Wrong. This is a textbook case of government meddling gone wild, and the fallout is going to be uglier than a recession-era breadline. Here at Boss Economics World, we don't just report the news, we dissect it, roast it, and serve it up with a side of economic truth. So, let's break this down, layer by layer, from the surface-level chaos to the deep, systemic rot it exposes. And trust me, folks, by the end of this, you'll see why this tariff is less America first and more America worst. Let's start with the obvious, tariffs are taxes, and taxes get passed on to you, the consumer. Copper is already trading at record highs, $4.80 per pound on the COMEX as of July 2025, up 20% from last year, thanks to supply chain disruptions and booming demand for green tech like electric vehicles, EVs, and solar panels. Now, Trump wants to slap a 50% tariff on top of that. Do the math, folks. That's not just a price hike, that's a price explosion. Take the auto industry, for example. Copper is a critical component in EVs, with each vehicle using about 183 pounds of the stuff, according to the International Copper Association. With tariffs jacking up costs, the price of an average EV, already hovering around $55,000, could jump by another $1,000 to $2,000. And it's not just EVs. Traditional cars, construction materials, and even your iPhone 16 are about to get pricier. The National Association of Home Builders estimates that a 50% tariff on copper could add $5,000 to the cost of an average new home. So, congratulations, first-time homebuyers, you're now priced out of the market even more, all thanks to Uncle Sam's brilliant idea. But wait, there's more. Remember inflation? Yeah, that beast we've been wrestling since 2021. The Consumer Price Index, CPI, is already up 3.5% year-over-year as of June 2025, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Now, with copper costs rippling through every sector, economists at Goldman Sachs predict inflation could spike to 4.5% by Q1 2026. And guess what? The Federal Reserve, already tap dancing on a tightrope with interest rates at 5.25%, might have to hike rates even higher to tame this tariff-induced inflation. Higher rates mean higher mortgage costs, higher car loans, and, yep, you guessed it, higher misery for the average American. Now, let's zoom out from your wallet and look at the industries getting crushed by this policy. The U.S. is the world's second-largest copper importer, bringing in 1.2 million metric tons of refined copper in 2024, according to the U.S. Geological Survey. Why? Because domestic production can't keep up. The U.S. only produced 1.1 million metric tons last year, and opening new mines is a decade-long process thanks to environmental regulations and permitting delays. So, Trump's big plan to bolster American production is like trying to fill a swimming pool with a teaspoon, it's not gonna happen anytime soon. Meanwhile, the industries that rely on copper are screaming bloody murder. The White House's Council of Economic Advisors met with industry reps just hours after Trump's announcement, and the message was clear: please, for the love of all that is holy, don't do this. Companies like Rio Tinto, Southwire, and Trafigura are begging for export controls on copper scrap instead of import tariffs. Why? Because the U.S. is a net exporter of copper scrap, shipping out 800,000 metric tons annually, according to the Institute of Scrap Recycling Industries. Restricting those exports would keep more raw materials stateside, potentially boosting domestic refining without jacking up costs for everyone else. But no, Trump's team seems hell-bent on tariffs, because apparently, nothing says economic genius like alienating your own industries. And let's not forget the global ripple effects. Chile and Peru, which together supply 40% of the world's copper, are already licking their chops. A 50% U.S. tariff means American buyers will pay more, while other countries, like China, the world's largest copper consumer, could negotiate better deals. The result? US manufacturers lose competitiveness, and China's EV and tech sectors get a leg up. So much for America first, huh? Now, let's get to the juicy part, the systemic failures that make this tariff tantrum possible in the first place. Here at Boss Economics World, we don't just criticize bad policies, we expose the government's chronic mismanagement that sets the stage for these disasters. And folks, this copper tariff is a symptom of a much bigger disease, a government that's addicted to short-term political wins at the expense of long-term economic health. First, let's talk about the trade war obsession. Trump's been peddling tariffs as a cure-all since 2016, but the data tells a different story. Remember the steel and aluminum tariffs of 2018? A Federal Reserve study found they cost U.S. consumers and businesses $40 billion annually while saving just 140,000 jobs, a net loss of $286,000 per job saved. And now, with copper, we're seeing the same playbook, protect a tiny slice of domestic industry while screwing over everyone else. It's economic Darwinism in reverse, survival of the least efficient. Second, this tariff exposes the government's utter failure to invest in domestic production capacity. If Trump really wanted to bolster American copper production, where's the infrastructure plan? Where's the funding for new mines, smelters, and refineries? Where's the streamlining of permitting processes that take 7 to 10 years, according to the National Mining Association? Oh, right, those things require actual work, not just a tweet and a press conference. Instead, we get tariffs, which are the economic equivalent of putting a band-aid on a broken leg. And third, let's talk about the timing. We're in the middle of a global energy transition, with copper demand projected to double by 2035, according to the International Energy Agency, thanks to EVs, wind turbines, and solar panels. This is the worst possible moment to disrupt supply chains and jack up costs. The Biden administration's Inflation Reduction Act of 2022 poured $369 billion into green tech, but Trump's tariffs could undo much of that progress by making clean energy projects more expensive. It's like trying to run a marathon while shooting yourself in the foot, classic government brilliance. Here's the bottom line, folks, this copper tariff isn't just a bad policy, it's a recession trigger. Higher costs, higher inflation, higher interest rates, and lower competitiveness are a toxic cocktail, and we're all about to drink it. The IMF already downgraded US GDP growth projections to 1.8% for 2026, citing trade tensions as a key risk. Add in the copper tariff, and economists at Morgan Stanley now warn of a 50% chance of recession by mid-2026. And who's going to suffer the most? Not the politicians, not the CEOs, but you, the hard-working Americans who just want a fair shot at the dream. So, what's the solution? Scrap the tariffs, for starters. Then, invest in real industrial policy, fund domestic production, streamline regulations, and negotiate smart trade deals that don't kneecap our own industries. But don't hold your breath, because as long as Washington is run by grandstanders instead of planners, we're stuck with policies that are all sizzle and no steak. And there you have it, folks, another day, another dollar, and another government policy that's dumber than a bag of hammers. If you're as fed up as I am, smash that like button, subscribe, and share this video with every taxpayer who deserves better. This is the Boss of Economics, signing off with a reminder, the government might not have your back, but Boss Economics World always will. See you next time.